Roman Zylawy, running for the Mineral County Commissioner, East End District. Well, of course, jobs and keeping people working here. So the biggest problem we face is the fact that we don't have any private land to attract business or to expand. Between the Forest Service, DNRC, and the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, there's only 8% private land left for a tax base and or expansion, factory or businesses. So dealing with that, just continue to build relationships and work with people. As a commissioner, you're not just one person. You're a board. There's 3 of you, and you have to get along there, and you have to get along with all the other agencies, the state, the Forest Service, and I think we just need to stay on top of them using the resources we do have, and we've been making progress there. So my problem-solving philosophy is to be a good communicator and be able to explain our problem and get people to understand it, where they'll react and help us out, because we're going to need the help from others to help Mineral County bring jobs in. Well, I like to be face-to-face and honest with them, maintain a trust, and I think that's what happened with the strike, is that there was a mistrust between the union rep and what we 3 commissioners said we could do, and when that trust breaks down, then there's a lot of conflict. So I think that good communication and treating others with respect, and there were so many times I wanted to go out and talk to the employees face to face and tell them our side of the story, but that's not always possible with union rules and state laws in terms of interfering with the workers' right to strike and collective bargaining. So that was a difficult one, but otherwise, that's basically my philosophy, is be honest and straightforward, and try not to let mistrust develop. Well, the federal subsidies are to replace the economy we once had on these forests, and so while our high year in Mineral County for logging, the 25% rule, we garnered $1.3 million, and that went to schools and roads. So now that the Forest Service decided to shift their focus from logging to recreation, they feel a little bit guilty about our lost revenue off of the forest, so they just give us that in the form of SRS and also PILT, that's payment in lieu of taxes. So we need to maintain that. Not that we're about receiving welfare, but if we can't use the forest to have our tax base any longer, then we need them to step up and give us those subsidies in place of that. They can't really have it both ways. They can't say, you can't live off the land here anymore. Oh, and by the way, you can't have the taxes you used to have, and we're not going to give you the money either. So we need to keep them understanding that Mineral County, we would not be able to survive without those subsidies, and or going back to a way where we can manage the land and have an economy based off of it. I mean, earlier I stated we only have 8% private land. We really need the federal lands to work for us. Not just logging, not just mining, but tourism. Tourism for everybody, not just hiking. We need to diversify that too. We have a lot of four-wheelers and snowmobile people who tend to spend more money than a hiker does, and we need to find avenues for them to enjoy this national forest too. Maybe we'd get more business, motels, dealerships, etc. But the forest can't just be looked at. And but if it is going to just be looked at, they damn well better give us our subsidy. Well, when you get into this job at first, it's sort of a little bit of baptism by fire in the sense that there really isn't enough training. I mean, there's personnel issues, there's decision making, there's understanding legal documents, there's budgets, and there's not always someone there to be able to teach you. Even though there's trainings in Helena, it's ask any commissioner. You really have a strong learning curve. So to answer that, I guess now I've been here 6 years. I've been baptized by fire, and I think that the other thing is to be able to get along and communicate with other people, because it isn't just a unilateral position. Even if you're chairman, you have other people you have to work with, other commissioners, other elected officials, other heads of departments, states, etc. And so I think people have said that I'm a good communicator, so that's probably my greatest strength, and I hope to use that to our advantage to help Mineral County stay at the forefront and help solve our problems. Well, the Forest Service now, they're mainly interested and focus on collaboratives and working together. So yeah, these initiatives to work together are helping, because that's about the only way we can get anything done. And we have a coalition and a collaborative here in Mineral County, and it consists of some people from business too, like Tricon and Extension and commissioners and interested people, and those do help at the table with the Forest Service, especially when the people have knowledge. And the difference between a stewardship program can mean more jobs. The jobs stay local. There's more work to do on the ground. But sometimes those stewardship programs end up costing too much. That's why sometimes the Forest Service chooses not to go that route. But what we need to show them is sometimes the people doing their analysis aren't always doing it correctly. We just took a field trip last week and found that there's hundreds of thousands of dollars in a road package that they want to improve this road. The switchbacks are too tight for a pickup to get around without backing up. So the logging trucks, to make the corner, the road has to be expanded. Well, they're going through all that road system to improve the road, which is a high cost, just to get a couple units of logs that are lodgepole. Why not make the sale more sellable by opening up more units? There's all kinds of units that we saw, or maybe using an alternative road. Pardee Creek is already fit for hauling logs, and you could just use that road instead of the one that the scientist from the Missoula office, maybe he didn't know it existed. I don't know, because some of these things are such common sense that we need to be able to tell them, hey, relook at this. And if they do, then they can bring the cost down, and then there could be a better stewardship sale instead of just a regular timber sale. But to answer the question, yes, they are working, but we're not there yet. They need to work better, and that just requires staying on top of them. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Keep calling them, keep writing them letters, keep pointing things out to them, and that's what we've been doing here lately, and we have been getting better timber sales. Jam Cracker, 12 Tamarack, Cedar South is finally being done, and so Mineral County is getting there, but it's not perfected yet. Well, that's tough, because what brings a lot of people to an area like that is good schools and good hospitals, and we really don't control the hospital or the schools. The other thing that people like to have is good transportation and roads, so they want to live here if they feel they can travel easily. And so the main thing is to provide essential services. Of course, law enforcement and the hospital and the schools and roads. So primarily a commissioner can try to keep the roads going, and another way to make sure that everything runs smoothly is to bring business back in, because businesses and jobs create tax base, which keeps the hospital and the schools and all that going. So they're kind of related, but there's not something that we can just do as commissioners to help make sure that the growth of the county is accommodated in every way, all interrelated. Well, I think that public lands are mandated for multiple use, and that means everybody, whether you live in New York, California, or here, should be able to use the public land. And that means not just to take a hike or take a bike, but the Forest Service should be allowing snowmobiling and four-wheelers. And they do that. So they have areas, they decide where that's allowed and where it's not. But they have never, ever singled out one user and said, banned forever on public land. And to me, whether you like trapping or not, it goes against that directive to say you can't trap, especially when we know in Mineral County how many vast acres and acres. I mean, just take a drive up Flat Creek or up Cedar Creek, and in 25 minutes, you're way back up there in the wilderness where you wouldn't even know if there's a trap there. I think a lot of the people that are concerned about traps are near populated areas, and they're worried about their animals getting caught more than anything. So if that's their concern, maybe they should legislate for stronger setbacks away from parks or trails or populated areas. But I don't think a ban altogether on all public land in Montana is the way to go. That's too severe in my opinion. Well, having been here when the first round with medical marijuana occurred, that was a circus. Everybody found a doctor and they got a backache or foot pain to suddenly have medical marijuana. To me, that was too much, and we don't need to have that kind of abuse of the law happening. I think it's fine the way it is now, and if people really need the relief of marijuana, there also, it comes in a pill form called Miranol. So I don't know how many of those 21-year-olds with a bad back enjoyed taking the Miranol versus smoking the joint, but I think it was too convoluted and it created too much chaos and too much abuse. So I'm against that at this point in time with the problems that are created from it. Well, I guess first and foremost is the cost to implement has not been established, so we don't know how much it would cost. Number two, it's a constitutional initiative. If there really are some big problems with our law enforcement involving victims and their families, maybe legislative action will be more prudent than an entire constitutional change. And secondly, I think that Montana, we have a really good state constitution, which I think already does take good care of families and their victims. But if it does have shortcomings, I think the legislative process would be the place to address it. Mineral County, I think specifically would be the trapping one, 177. Again, because there would be cost eventually if the trappers aren't managing some of these animals for the fishing game on behalf of them. Take wolves, for example. Then when that population grows, because they are pretty clever at not being hunted, then the fishing game would be spending taxpayer dollars for government hunters, or they'd have to have more game wardens. They would have to, the whole problem would just exponentially grow. So, and since we do have a problem with wolves, I think Mineral County could benefit from a better elk herd and hunting economy here, and people can help the fishing game and help us by managing the land for free. It's only 1% of the population, so it's not as if there's a trap behind every tree that we're going to get caught in, or our dogs are going to get caught in. And I think that Mineral County probably would be impacted the most by this initiative because of the wolf problem here.